Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well today. So, last night I was speaking with Go and Willie, because we besties, about the raid testing that occurred on beta, and it led to a very interesting discussion about the current difficulty of the raids on beta, whether that was intentional by Blizzard, and what it could actually mean for Cataclysm in general. So before I move forward and discuss the points of the video, I want to pose an early question of the day to you all. How long do you expect to be progressing a normal raid in Cataclysm, and how long do you expect to be progressing the heroic raids of Cataclysm? I'm really super interested and would love your feedback. I want to get involved in the comments with you all, so please do let me know, and let's get into the video. So, this weekend that's just passed, the raid testing occurred and offered the chance for people to get in and test the raids. Now, immediately we noticed a few things. We were given 359 gear to test content in gear that won't be available week 1 of release, which just doesn't make sense to me. And secondly, the boss's health were all at post-nerf values. Now, this is a discussion that's occurred with Blizzard before in Classic, but throughout Wrath we've been given all pre-nerf bosses, with the option of having them nerfed for easier reclears late into the tier, or like an ICC-style buff to the same effect. Now, due to my experience on, them servers, I was hesitant about stepping straight into heroic bosses. On private servers, they're typically at pre-nerf values with extra dampening to make them even harder. So we opted to go into normal, in pre-raid BIS gear, so 346 eye level, with crafted and archaeology pieces, no Darkmoon Fair trinkets, one Valor Point trinket. One Valor Point piece. Now, this is a realistic character expectation for week 1 of raids. In fact, we didn't have professions, so we were even slightly weaker than we will be going into week 1. And the difficulty was minimal. We cleared all 3 raids, so 12 bosses, in a couple of hours, with a few wipes for things that just differed heavily from previous experience. Generally, the difficulty level was roughly equivalent to that of Nax, which really surprises me to say that. We expected Cataclysm to be this pinnacle of raiding, and, we're going in there and comparing it to Nax in terms of difficulty. Now, don't get me wrong, wipes could happen, but 1 week's clear, a little bit more familiarity with the bosses for people that have never been in there before, and a couple of tier pieces or major token upgrades, and the bosses are going to become nothing more than like Bloodlust and Nuke. Now, to give some context, the people in the raid are all good players, most with previous experience killing these bosses, and not the average group of people that haven't played Cataclysm. But as it is currently, I would expect most groups to be clearing most, if not all, of Tier 11 normal week 1. Now, that's a massive change from the difficulty level that people remember and relate to Cataclysm. So I delved a little bit deeper. I joined a couple of pugs over the weekend and cleared multiple heroic bosses in the same 346 gear with people that have never stepped foot into a Cataclysm raid. Now, don't get me wrong, I have experience, but I made sure that I wasn't trying to raid lead or influence these raids at all. I went there as a resto shaman, so it wasn't like I was pumping damage. I just did my thing. I stayed quiet. In fact, one of the guilds I joined, which was super cool and really, really enjoyable to raid with, were German. They didn't speak to me very much at all. But speaking to Willie about his guild's experience, they cleared heroic content in a 25-man guild group with what seems like minimal effort. In fact, they were saying that on some of the mechanics, they just don't feel like they were being punished. There were pug groups killing most, if not all, heroic bosses, albeit in the 359 gear. This doesn't bode well for an expansion that prides itself on the difficulty of its content. So, why is this the case? Most bosses in Tier 11 receive some sort of tuning over the course of the tier, some amounting to really large changes. Things like Omnitron, which was considered one of the harder heroic bosses pre-week or in DBM phases, received heavy health nerfs, as well as reduced damage from core mechanics like Incineration Security Measure, which is supposed to be a really tough healing check. Magma was severely nerfed, making the ads significantly easier, and the boss's health being reduced by around 25 to 30%. That's insane. Now, we expected to get these bosses in their pre-nerf states, and whilst it would make them much tougher, I think they still realistically could be clearable week 1, and would be cleared by most guilds. Most top end of the guilds, I should say. Now, don't get me wrong, there would be active progression for most guilds, simple heroic bosses like Chimeron and Halfus, which would be, the easier heroic bosses would be killed early to allow for easy gear upgrades to progress the other bosses. Overall, I think this is what a lot of the community expected with Cataclysm. Now, this video is meant to be informative. Obviously, I've talked about the difficulty and things like that, and I have my own opinions on this, and having discussed this with a couple of other creators to get their thoughts, I genuinely want to hear yours. Do you want an easier phase, or do you want, progression? Would getting to a point of clearing everything in the first few weeks just turn Cataclysm into an extension of Wrath, in which people log in purely to raid log? I really, really want to hear your thoughts on this, so please let me know in the comments. My opinion personally is, as it is currently, I'm expecting the top guilds to be cleared full heroic in around 2 hours. With guilds that cleared Lich King 25 heroic pre-nerf, that sort of level of guild, clearing all heroic bosses the first or second week, and almost every guild being able to clear like 9 or 10 out of 13 heroic bosses in mostly normal raid gear, comfortably with minimal progression. Now, me personally, I was hoping for some harder progression than that of Wrath. ICC was a raid I remembered fondly from back in the day, but going back I realised how two-dimensional and simple the fights actually are. Some of them are incredibly simple, with 2 or 3 mechanics at most. I was hoping Cataclysm would ignite a little bit more enjoyment out of raiding for me, but if it just turns into a kind of a pass fest, I worry that I won't enjoy the game for long before getting bored again. So like I said, I want to know your thoughts on this. We may see changes. Blizzard have not told us anything, shocker, about this at all. So we may see pre-nerf next time around. We do have another raid test coming. During that raid test, I will be trying to clear every single boss on Heroic with my group. So you'll have all those videos to look forward to as well, with some enhanced footage. By the way, you guys have been loving the enhanced footage, so thank you for that. But yeah, so I want to hear your comments. Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. More videos coming soon. Peace.